I'm just a normal guy, father of an 8-year-old son, awesome boy, baseball player, and my wife, she's supportive, she's awesome, she's an interior designer, but I am a guy that loves LA, and, as long as I can remember, I had kind of a silly pride with LA. I mean, I guess it goes back to my parents. I grew up in the middle of the San Fernando Valley in what was called Sepulveda back then. It's known as North Hills now. But they'd take me everywhere: Venice, Griffith Park, Dodger Stadium, the Forum. And my parents were always just super proud of LA. So I guess that kind of passed on to me. Went to UCLA. I only applied to 2 schools. I applied to UCLA and USC. And I figured, one of them's got to take me. So luckily I got into UCLA, kept that LA pride going. And I was the type of kid growing up that if an athlete or celebrity was born in LA, I'd be like, Sherman Oaks, Notre Dame High School, Granada Hills High School, like Locke High School. I always was just proud of the LA natives and just things in Los Angeles. But flash forward now. So my son, as I mentioned, is 8 years old, addicted to screen time, right? It's always a battle to get him off the screen. And towards the end of last year, I was getting fed up with it. And I finally came up with a rule. I said, if you learn something on the screen today, then you can watch tomorrow. So it was around Christmas time last year. And my wife has these young cousins, like 16 to 22. And they were telling me, we get our news from TikTok. And now I'm like, oh, that sounds terrible.
That's actually wounding.
Exactly. Especially seeing what Facebook did to people who were receiving their news from Facebook. And all I knew about TikTok was that it was dances and silly stuff. I'm like, oh, this is just going to end badly. And they're like, no, seriously, Washington Post has a feed and LA Times and New York. I was like, okay, you're dropping kind of the right names. And they show me a couple things. And they're like, you should do one on LA. You like LA. So I started the feed on January 3rd, which would have been my grandma's 102nd birthday this year. It would have been. She passed away 5 years ago. But so I started it, and just by reading 2 or 3 stories from the LA, not reading the stories, but kind of encapsulating. These are 2 important things that happen in Los Angeles, hoping that my son, I would be like, hey, Felix is his name. I'd be like, hey, Felix, you want to learn something? Learn about LA. You don't need to read the paper. I'm going to digest it, put it in an easily digestible format for you. Here you go. He liked it. It was more interesting to him than actually reading the newspaper, so that was a minor victory. But about a week into it, I was like, not every day does LA have like an interesting enough news story. I was like, you know what? I'm going to put together a piece, this on my TikTok feed, of oldest fast food chains that started in Los Angeles.